And now moving forward towards a more Eastern bent in philosophy and how that may fit into the panentheistic model. Starting with Confucianism, or order over disorder, the basic premise. Philosophy, Confucianism, order over disorder. What does the conceptual framework of Confucianism have to offer us? Confucianism originated in approximately 500 BC. Society could be saved if it emphasized sincerity in personal and public conduct. The key to orderly social life was the gentleman. The gentleman was to think for himself, guided by definite rules of conduct. A gentleman also studied constantly and practiced self-examination. When gentlemen were rulers, their moral example would inspire those beneath them to lead good lives. Virtuous behavior by rulers had a great effect in governing than did laws and codes of punishment. World Book Encyclopedia, page 756, section on Confucianism. Confucianism is an Eastern philosophy, just as Hinduism is an Eastern religion. East or West, it does not seem to matter. We're both headed in the same direction. The East, through Hinduism, led the way for religion with the global perception of a causative force, or what religions have historically called God. The West, through the ancient philosophy of the Greeks, led the way for philosophy in the Western Hemisphere. But leading implies going somewhere. The question is where? The answer appears to be toward an understanding of ourselves, our universe, and the cause of our universe. The key concept of Confucianism appears to orient around the statement, the gentleman, who was to think for himself guided by definite rules of conduct. This was the means by which an orderly society, or order over disorder, could preserve itself, and it was through an orderly society that humankind could achieve its purpose. What was humankind's purpose? Why was the universe created? What is the soul? What are the definite rules of conduct? How are we to sense the way if we don't know what our purpose is? Confucianism had a major impact upon the lives of billions, but it still fell short of a unified view. It began with the construction of the framework, but it lacked the foundation, the understanding of the answer to the question, why? This in no way diminishes the positive impact Confucianism had and still has upon society. It simply implies Confucianism, like everything else, would be much stronger if it had a foundation of understanding to support it. What does the conceptual framework of Confucianism imply about the universe within which we live? Confucianism, with its orientation of living one's life oriented around definite rules of conduct, implies the need for order in an ever-changing environment. Change often can and does produce chaotic situations. So it naturally seeks order. Our universe is permeated with change. Its very beginning is believed to have been initiated with a horrendous explosion. Scientists called the Big Bang Theory. There appears to be nothing we can do about change but to live with it. But upon closer examination, the universe appears to also follow specific natural laws as it undergoes change. Order appears to be the underlying theme of the universe. Without order, randomlessness loses its meaning. Society acts in much the same manner. Order must exist for the purpose of allowing the randomness of the individual to flourish. Confucianism orients around the premise of effective leadership being based upon a leader who follows definite rules of conduct. Confucianism does not define these rules of conduct. Confucianism simply makes the statement: the key to orderly social life was the gentleman. And then goes on to define the gentleman as one who thinks for himself, guided by definite rules of conduct. A particular order of conduct was not what was being pushed by Confucianism. What was being put forward was the concept of a definite rule of conduct, the concept of order, or order over chaos. Confucianism was implying order was the key and that we have the free will to choose our rules through self-examination and constant study. Society could choose to define who we are through the process of establishing rules of conduct. The rules of conduct were to be determined by leaders within society. The key to the behavior, however, was consistency. That's why they are called rules. They could not apply to everyone except for the leader. They had to apply equally to everyone, including the leader. Confucianism emphasized the concept of establishing the rules and then following them, but society has had a problem determining what these rules should be. They change so often and become so complex it seems impossible to understand them. The reason they become so complex is because many different spheres of influence attempt to establish their influence upon law. Simplification can come about with the establishment of laws based upon what it is we think we are, why we exist, and why life exists. How do the concepts of Confucianism reinforce the concept of Panentheism? Confucianism implies a need for order, yet we live in a universe filled with apparent disorder. But is it? Or is it simply order hidden in disorder, separating us from what lies beyond the causative force? We are an orderly creature. Our societies are based upon order, or what you would call law and order. And every nation has them. Our understandings become understanding when the solutions are explained in an orderly manner. Our language is based upon order. Our families and societies are based upon order. Our very existence is oriented around order. If the universe is a closed system, then the creation of a universe which appears to be based upon universal laws of physics would seem to have been derived from a process of orderly thought, an orderly form of awareness. It would appear Confucianism, through its strong emphasis upon a reliance of definite rules, is indicating the causative force herself may retain this form of existence. In philosophy, this could be considered metaphysically as the absolute or the ultimate. Interestingly enough, religions have indicated that the causative force, or God, is just that, the causative force, the cause of all things. The implication is the causative force is the leading force behind the universe. As such, the causative force is not just omnipresent, but a leader to her creation. Confucianism is implying the rules we sense we are to follow are the same rules the creator of our universe would need to follow if he, she, it is to be the most effective form of leader. And what is its religions profess are rules of conduct we need to follow? They are understanding one entity comprised of its many parts, or emanations, or images. Hinduism, we are responsible for our actions. Judaism, the eliminating of suffering. Buddhism, unconditional love. Christianity, and justice for all. Islam. But the characteristics of the causative force is not what is being addressed by the question being put forward. Rather, one and only one question is being submitted, and that is how does Confucianism reinforce the concept of an omnipresent causative force? In other words, reinforce Panentheism, specifically symbiotic Panentheism. Confucianism implies that the causative force, by being a leader in the greatest sense of the word, due to her supposed perfection, would need to lead by example, and that is nothing less than what religions have been telling us. Has been taking place throughout our history. What does Confucianism reinforce about the significance of existence, life? Order is what is being stressed by Confucianism. Order is implied as the state of existence through which society thrives. It is not the order that is important, but rather what can take place once order is established. Life either has significance or it doesn't. If life has no significance, then that is the end of this discussion. But we are not privy to the absolute fact regarding whether life has significance or not. However, we do not have always suspected life did have a purpose, was worth protecting, was worth sacrificing in order to establish and maintain the concept of significance lying within the individual. Confucianism implies life has significance and order is important and must be maintained in an unbiased manner to be effective. The rules of conduct are only as effective as the example the leaders at the top display in following these rules. But just how far does the top go? Eastern and Western religions would both say the top goes well beyond our universe and into the abstract forms of existence from which our universe is immersed. Spirit. As such, Confucianism would imply that even the causative force would need to abide by the most basic principles if, in fact, we are made in the image of God. The Bible proclaims God is spirit. As religions, for the most part, imply or outright state, made in the image of God. Science also is heading in the direction of an outside to our universe. Scientists have no idea how many shells exist around our universe, nor how many universes may be directly tied into ours. But they nevertheless keep searching for the end, the boundary of the universe. And why does science keep looking for this boundary, the limit to our universe? Like religion, science senses the answer to the questions regarding what it is we are and why we exist may well lie outside, not inside, the universe. So there it is. Everybody is searching for the same thing. Religion and science developing the pieces. And philosophy has not yet begun to take responsibility seriously. And so our rules and laws remain entwined and tangled within the jumble of the puzzle pieces strewn upon the table, until philosophy gets its act together and begins assembling the puzzle, firstly by not rejecting science or religion. The fear of Confucianism will remain a reality and significance. Life, existence, society will remain in a state of confusion and conflict.